to another episode of the DailyFlip podcast. I'm your host, Alex, and today we're going to be talking about the Elon and Trump drama. Now, of course, there are plenty of articles that can go through it, but there is honestly a direct news feed, which is X, where we will be looking for most of the commentary and honestly just talking about the commentary that is on that platform from Mr. Elon Musk as he goes after the president of the United States, aka the most powerful man in the world. Now, some would argue that Musk could fall into that category because money equals power, and there's something to that, but a lot of it's locked up in stock, so I'm going to dismiss that now. And of course, we're going to end today with our daily delight, a story meant to leave you feeling positive and ready to take on the day. This is probably going to be a shorter episode because I think it is overtrodden. There are so many people talking about all the different battles that are happening, or at least how the battle started and what it describes. But it doesn't mean we can't have a little bit of fun while discussing it. So what is going on between Elon and Donald? And Mr. President, aka President Trump, the POTUS of the United States. Well, they're having a major disagreement. That's probably the simple way to put it, but you could call it a marital dispute if you want it to be really funny, in my opinion. It goes a little bit deeper than this, and the rift could very well lead to the funding of a proper party. And that's one of Elon Musk's last tweets that he has pinned at the top, which is there a time for a new party? Is there space for a new party? Should funding go towards a new party in the United States of America? Will Elon actually be able to affect this change? I don't necessarily think so. Not to be negative, but it's not realistic at this point now in American history to say, we're going to be able to really rip at the center here, and we're going to pull them away from the left and the right. Now, I don't think that's realistic, but he can definitely highlight some issues going on the right and possibly pull some important people, especially a segment of the population that lives away from DC, that interacts with Donald Trump and listens to Donald Trump, but doesn't necessarily see how he acts on a day-to-day basis, doesn't have all the inside information. And this is the tech side, the Silicon Valley side, who's a lot more libertarian. And let's be clear, there's a wide variety of people that operate in tech. So to say, they're this definitively, or they're this definitively, that would not be true, and it would be oversimplifying things. And to look at them in general, you could probably say a majority of the population wants to remove regulations on their companies, or they want to create regulations that silo their companies from having to face any sort of competition. They're very much out for themselves. And Elon Musk seems to be returning to this place. I believe that this is him actively distancing himself from Donald Trump, trying to both hold on to the people that like him in the Republican side of things, while also appealing to some of the moderates who simply don't like Trump, or even some of the moderates who do agree with the message of cutting spending. They just don't agree the places that it is being done. Now, it's not quite that simple. Some would argue that, or suggest that Elon feels as though he has been disrespected by the White House, and I'm sure with Elon Musk, that is most definitely the case. You can't just say, he's the most strategic man in the world, and that's why he's making these sort of choices. Sometimes it is just pure emotion, especially with a man like Elon Musk, who has characteristics of a person who is not necessarily unstable, but someone who has massive mood swings. And Donald Trump is coming at this from the angle of a scorned friend. And that's not to say that Elon and Trump were actually that much of friends. That's not to pretend as though Donald Trump looks at him as anything but a tool. Though I think that to some degree, he may have actually believed that Elon saw Trump's view, Trump's message, and Trump's vision for America. And on some aspects, that's true. On other aspects, that is not the case whatsoever. I think we will see how this plays out in 2026. How much is Elon willing to give to MAGA-backed candidates? How much is Elon willing to pursue the things he talked about today, which is possibly stopping producing his Falcon rockets in the United States of America? And that could be a huge problem when it comes to NASA and their Artemis missions, which are supposed to be mostly, let's be clear, mostly engineered and facilitated by places like Tesla, though Boeing has also put in contracts in order to prepare the capsules that would go on the top of these different landing crafts. And different internal things, of course, are from many different companies. And obviously Blue Origin's been trying to get at this for a while now and trying to get into the contract conversation. But Elon Musk is a person who, with will, determination, will try to actively lock out people from gaining opportunities that he can't have. And I think this could be detrimental to a few different areas, though, as a private corporation, if he can find a way to make money doing it his way rather than having to deal with government contracts. When there is a path forward which is even better for him, which is one that is not reliant on the government. And I think at this point, he's learned his lesson that you don't trust the government, you don't trust the people in government, and no matter who they are, no matter how much money you give them, and you actively try to facilitate everything on your own. Though it would be extremely hard for a company that currently, except for Starlink, which is now up and running and is a viable product, and corporations, people, individual customers can pay for it now. But will that actually pay for all the development of the rockets? Not necessarily. Will loans cover the rest of it? Possibly. But then the pressure is going to be a lot more stringent compared to what it is now, because he is able to use government contract money in order to help fund his further expansion. So we'll see how it all plays out. With that said, let's actually jump into our daily delight. This one is meant to leave you with a smile on your face as you go into the rest of the day. The headline reads, "Video: Dog Dad's negotiating skills with Golden Shepherd is top notch." And with that sort of headline, you're thinking, oh, is it just a training video? No, it's actually a cute dog interacting, being adorable, but also well behaved, which is probably my favorite combination when it comes to dogs. So if you want to leave a little smile on your face, this article will be linked in the description below. The like and subscribe button. Also down there, you can find the podcast on Spotify, Pocket Cast, Podvine, as well as the Twitter handle at @YourDailyFlip, where I post these links on Monday, Wednesday, Friday to the US-based news podcast, and also on Tuesday and Thursday to the 6 and 6 podcast, which is more international focused. So with all that said, there's only one more thing to say: stay safe, don't die.